I think we're all alone in our own minds, and so we must come up with our own meaning, our own motivation, reason to do, to be. I'm an artist. My name is Rob. My websites are artsy.com, RARTSY.com, and humanism.org. I think that we are alone in our minds and we make our own meaning, decide on meaning. Because of these facts, I believe that respect for autonomy and consent are highest principles. It's a leap, but it's, I think, required to coexist, to say, you're equal to me. You have not the same, because I can never know, but I'm going to presume that you have similar thoughts and feelings and experiences, as I do. But because I don't know, I must simply respect your autonomy. You are in charge of you if I'm in charge of me, and I'm going to respect consent that if we are going to be together in some way, that I allow you to choose. I want to discuss a problem, and I want to. So if I'm talking to you, what's my reason for talking to you? If I think that we're so separate, so autonomous, then how can I believe that something that I say has any relevance to you? I can sort of try to urge and convince you. I can presume. I can sort of coerce and browbeat. I think respecting others is essential because if I if I'm struggling to have meaning, to feel, to just make it, to live, to believe in meaning in life, then others around me, you know, deserve my respect. They are making it. I think a problem. So without due respect for autonomy and consent, and those words aren't emotional. Well, respect itself is contains emotion, I believe. I mean, the point I'm trying to make is that uh, when I feel disagreements with others, I'm one of the things that I often think is, well, I'm not like them. They're not like me. And I think what I'm getting at is they're less than. They're not trying as hard to do the things I'm doing. I mean, part of that is it's a defense because I can tell you I'm not doing well by my society's standards of income, physical health, contentment, fitting in, community, relationships, peace of mind. I guess that's contentment. Well, so why not? Why? Wherefore do I struggle? I struggle, so then I get, defensive, and I would say, well, I struggle with these basic things that other lesser beings around me are, breezing through because I'm trying to do something that they're not. I'm not saying what's true or false right now. I'm talking about feelings. That's why I paint the way I do to honor subjectivity. I'm the only one sitting right here, right now, looking at the three birds that I just looked at. And if I wanted to, I could build a belief system around that that says sitting still and looking at birds on a Monday at 10 till 10 is where it's at, is more meaningful than the other available activities in the world that are causing death, destruction, pain, suffering to others, yada, yada, yada. I had an art critique. I was in the presence of a critique of what am I in the presence of? I'm trying to say it wasn't directed at me specifically in my work specifically, but I was in an auditorium in a talk, and someone was saying that there's no point of this work, this style of work nowadays, because it doesn't speak to the problems, to the moment. It's not relevant. I wonder how they think it was ever relevant before if it's not relevant now. I mean, maybe they're saying it never was. Another art critic who's well known, one of the most famous current art critics, uh, has said the time has come and gone for abstract expressionism, which I also don't understand. I used to follow this particular critic on their social media, but then when they said that, and that did feel like a personal attack, I thought, what is the purpose of your output? And, why am I following someone who is prominent, famous, well known? I have a conflict between what it takes to achieve recognition, because I believe that that is incompatible with um, meaning, legitimate meaning. I believe that meaning comes from within, and if your output is designed to, you get what I'm saying? Um, I think fame is a destroyer of community. At the very least, I would say not enough people ask this question. It's just assumed that fame is a goal, and that the people who get it are to be listened to. That your validity is supported by the number of your supporters. The wisdom of crowds. And then there's somebody like me who thinks, well, things are pretty bad, so how can there be wisdom in crowds? Um, so then I'm a cynic, uh, which is, a different risk. I'm distracted by noise outside my door. I'll talk about something else I like besides napkins, little spoons, because I think they're harder to find than normal sized spoons. I could be wrong. I was about to do a sound check before I closed up. If I haven't transmitted a word, I think I'd rather just not know till later. Okay, so that's a perfect analogy for fame. Or so for me right now, I care about what I'm thinking of and what I'm trying to say. So I'm not going to get distracted by the feedback of going to the site and seeing if the message is going out. And I think there's such an imbalance of focus on messages reaching the intended targets more so than on the message. In other words, marketing is more important than substance, it feels. That's the opposite of how I feel. I mean that it feels that others are putting more importance on marketing than substance. But that's where I come back around to my first principles of autonomy, respect, consent, and that I don't know what other people think. So, all of this is a super long way of saying one of my first thoughts before I put these on and started this stream was I was going to come over here and talk about a problem that liberals have of assuming the motives of our opponents. And then I thought, but I had the same problem back when I was a conservative. And then I thought, well, that all that proves is the problem is in me. And that's the way I should talk about things, I believe. I believe the most respectful way to communicate messages, and I'm not saying it's easy, and I'm not saying I'm doing it well, but I would like to continue to get better at presenting my views as my experiences and acknowledging that I don't know beyond that. Beyond that, all I can do is observe, surmise, and that when I fail to do that, when I take the leap of saying what others are thinking and why it's wrong, that I'm destroying community. Which is a funny thing for me to say because I already admitted that I have very little community in my life. I feel that I observe community being built on us versus them. So I feel that I've been repeatedly invited into communities if I accept that they're good and the people that they dislike are bad. And that has caused me to not make community, to not join those communities because I think, no, I can't do it. I don't want to do it. I'm making choices. I'm aware that I'm making choices. But life is short, and people will say, we don't have time for all that. We don't have time for all that rigmarole. So when we don't have time, I would say, these are my values. X group of people are closer to my values. Y group of people are not. But, if I want to pretend to know what's going on in other people's heads when I don't, I would say, when I was more conservative, I fretted about the bad things, the bad thoughts, the bad motives that liberals might have had. When I'm more liberal, I feel the same way about the bad motives that I believe are guiding conservatives. And it might be fruitful to stop that. So there's a big problem with what I'm just saying, which is both sides. I do believe in human, the value of humanity, humanism, and I do believe that some people are violating my values more than other people. It's why I want to move far away from here. It's raining now. Maybe it's been raining the whole time. Is it raining on you? Hold on. Oh no, because I've got this wonderful overhanging ledge. This building was designed This is the best. This is the best unit. It makes me want to emphasize that when I sell this. I just had two conflicting thoughts. One is that I preferred the video that I did before this, where I just showed nature. I, because I don't want to convince you of anything. I do just want to be and enjoy life. I just want to be. Okay, this is what I'll say about both sides. There aren't two diametrically opposed sides. There are degrees. There's a gradient of people. So, standing wherever I am on that gradient and pointing and saying, past this is not good enough, is not community building. So, that I do want to say. No matter where you are on that gradient, if you think that there are two sides, you're weakening your community building. I think that if I were anyone's political advisor, I would say, who are the people you're closest to? How do you reach them first? And then, if you are able to draw them into your community, how do they reach the people who are next to them, et cetera, et cetera? Because now that I'm probably more left than liberal, whatever, whatever, there's so much fighting within the left, and it's some of the most intense because it's like we know each other well, and we feel like we have similar goals, so we're frustrated that we're not able to do what it takes to reach those goals. Or just put it this way: I don't expect anything good to come from the presidents that I don't vote for. But when someone is elected whom I do vote for, I'd like to see them do things that I want. And when they don't do enough, I am more dissatisfied. I mean, so like when it's the side that I disagree with, I'm outraged. I'm I am furious. I fully reject it. I have written off, given up. I'm in opposition. But when it's someone on my side and they're not doing much, that hurts. I try not to feel angry and think that all the Obamas care about are is 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 fame, pop culture, music, books. I saw a thing today where Obama was saying, "What if I had done any of this?" And I'm thinking, how who are you speaking to? How does that help anyone except you, your image? I can understand feeling it. I can understand saying it as a joke to your friends, but I don't understand that that's the only news out of that former president's mouth that has reached my attention in the past few months. Oh, the moth that's been living inside my house for many days just left. I hope you didn't lay your eggs in my sweaters, but then again, whatever. No, I hope you didn't lay your eggs in my blankets. I think this must be acrylic. I can't tell the difference between real wool and acrylic wool, I don't think. And it's handmade, so there's no tag. I could burn it. I will. It doesn't feel bad, so I'm gonna just hope that it's wool. Or if it's not, praise the fact that there's actually a good use for man-made materials. Human-made, please. Synthetic. A friend of mine doesn't like this because it's not her style. I'll tell you what I love about this. It's absolutely perfect length for one human. Love it. I'm hoping to keep all of the blankets that I have. I'm moving somewhere where it gets chilly, so I'd like to keep the blankets. I I speak my values and I'm not thriving. I don't believe I am in an environment that is conducive to my values thriving, which is, and I'm trying to be able to understand that without hatred. So, I mean, like, that's part of what I'm trying to say is that um, I believe in humanism. I believe in um, honoring my values, promoting my values. Okay, yeah, people will say things like, but how do we get people to dot dot? And it's like, you're already wrong. You don't get people to do anything. You make community with them, and they're, you know, drawn in. Oh, well, that's just another way of saying the same thing. I don't think so. Because the goal is different. This is what I'm saying. That whether it's because of markets, um, economies of scale in capitalism, whatever it is, there's a there's such an emphasis on the message transmission to manipulate the most people. And as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter if that works because it only works temporarily. It doesn't take, oh, like an Obama voter who turned to Trump. And then people will go on TV and talk about their legislative priorities or their um, well, maybe if you look at the two things that those men have in common is their fame. Maybe the issue is having this nationwide election conducted in such a way that it's about paid advertising and rock star rallies. You know, maybe a political party should involve, like, I don't know anyone in my community that I could turn to and say, this is an issue that's important to me. And then they would pass it along to someone else, and a group would form that is missing. People go the other way around, and it's top down. And so it's like, well, we'll take money, we'll form an organization that's rich man's priorities, and then we'll figure out the ads that work for that, buy the networks, fund the correspondence, fund the fake research, the fake universities, whatever it is, it's top down, it's not democratic. You know, and so from a democratic point of view, you can say, well, we don't have time to build grassroots. Well, then we're not going to succeed. And I mean, that's where we are. There's a lot that's lacking in the structure of this nation. There's a lot of obstacles to community from the beginning in the structure. And then at most junctures, choices have been made that dissolve community. And they involve decisions about consolidation of mass media, um, even things like, oh, we're going to build roadways. Roadways connect people, but we're going to build them in such a way to split cities apart and to make them impossible to perceive on a human scale. All of that. Yes, these sound like complaints because, yes, I wish that this nation were different. I conclude for me, I'm going to try living in a different nation to see how that feels because I don't have much life left. I'm not getting what I want out of this one here, except for the birds. Oh, I interrupted. I said staring at birds is what you should do. It's not 10 till 10. The clock has stopped. Very cute. That's exciting though. No wonder, it's like time has stopped because it's overcast and I can't view the passage of the sun, and literally the battery in my watch has stopped. I love that. Well, it's even earlier, 9:20. So it stopped last night or yesterday. Or who knows? I don't function so great, so it could have stopped last week. Point is, well, there's multiple points. I wish it was the middle of the day. I hope it stays like this all day and doesn't burn off and doesn't turn sunny. But regardless, it's always nice. eh, I would say it's always nice to have more of the day left, but I've been awake since 4 or 5 in the morning, or 3 or 4, so I'm gonna be tired. And I mean, I'm tired now. I'm struggling with my chronic back pain and running out of the medication that sort of helps. I can see when I'm eligible to get a refill. I was just gonna make the oh boy. I can't log into my Publix account. I don't care. I'll just end. I had started to make a point about staring at birds being the right thing to do, and I was linking that to this art because people were criticizing. Some people criticize that this kind of art doesn't speak to the moment, and I think that what's needed is I think that the problems are inside our hearts, our feelings, that staring at birds on a cloudy day feels very healthy to me. And in in the forum that I attended where people were saying this doesn't speak to the moment, I did blurt out something about, if more people were spending their time staring at a painting like this, I think we'd live in a better world. And I believe that because it's self reflection. That's what abstract expression in art enables. I think jumping to conclusions about what we should believe, about who we should follow, about what we think others are doing right or wrong, I believe that's damaging. I believe that the treatment, an available treatment, a good available treatment, is to is to strengthen our willingness to find our own meaning and to respect the fact, the autonomy of others, that their meaning will be different, but by respecting consent, we can build a world together, a life together. And it's not about control. So there's a passivity to it. I'm going to sit here and look at the birds and think about the fact that they exist. They are completely oblivious to me. They're outside my control. I mean, they may not be oblivious to me. If I mean, humans are affecting their ability to thrive, but at the very least, we don't think birds are full of as much worry as humans can get. Look at the birds; they're not worried. So there's a passivity to receiving, and then there's an activity in I'm going to take what I've received and forge meaning from it that is respectful of my place amongst others, including, other people and other creatures and the earth that we all depend on. Humility. Anyway, I see all things like that as being available in abstract expressionist work. Some of the other types of work that I don't do, I think, are doing that shortcut version of how can we get people to think this, to feel this. I think the long way is worth it. And now, just because I dug it up, I'll end with I've got a video from October 2022, rearranging brain rugs on the Titanic. I can't really show you. So I'll bring the camera around. We'll see what happens. Mm-hmm. 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 This will be the end. I've got to find some use for the work I've done in the past, right? No, I mean that's not that's not entirely what I mean. of making a rich person richer. That's never worked for me. That's where I see the dangers of distractions that induce a passivity that leads to oblivion.
People want oblivion.
Yes, future video, okay? We'll talk about you in a future video. And what about this video? Well, like I said earlier, this video itself is a shortcut. I'm not taking the long slog today. It's from a James Bond movie. People want oblivion. People, I mean, according to that guy, some people do. I would like to create more work that focuses on passivity versus choice. In my own life, if I feel that things are happening to me and I'm waiting for the right treatment to make me feel better, or the changes in the world to, to create a better world, then I'm weakening myself. I like to meditate on that. That balance of what I don't control and what I do control. In order to accept, well, it's the cliche, accept the things I cannot change and change the things I can. Have the wisdom to know the difference. I had no idea I was building towards that. But, you hear certain things a number of times. Something to think about. Now I'm mad at myself for ending on that serenity prayer. Oh well. I didn't need to do any of this. I could have just... People want oblivion. I could have just plugged into pre-existing content. Someone else has always done it before, Oh, this kind of work, it's of the past. It was done before. If your understanding of art or culture is that it's about trends, then I would say we have very different views. I don't think there's any kind of art that was ever worth doing that's not still worth doing. We still make pottery. Why? I can have a mass-produced plate that works just great. Anyway, all of the art is art. I'm just saying, all art is valid. There aren't trends. That's a marketing concept. That's about fame. That's about attention seeking. That's about money. So I'm really tempted to, well, I'll end with just some enjoying the nature that's going on